My dad's got 2 stepkids from his wife, also known as the woman he cheated on my mom with. His wife's oldest is 14 and she's from her first marriage. She cheated on the 14-year-old's dad with the 5-year-old's dad, and the 14-year-old hates the 5-year-old because of it, and I care about none of them because I only go to my dad's house against my will. I just turned 17 BTW, and before people asked, the courts would not let me stop going to dad's house. My mom could lose custody to my dad if I don't go, or I leave and go to her house after being made go to dad's. 50-50 has to stay in place until I turn 18. That's just the fucked up way it is. My dad knows I hate going to his house. He tries to fix what he broke, but he broke it so good he can't unbreak it. He knows I can't stand his wife and that I don't want to pretend I'm someone's brother while I'm there, since he tries to put the 5-year-old's rejection by her half-sister onto me and expects me to make up for that. I left my dad's house yesterday morning because mom's parenting time started. My dad and his wife were leaving her daughter's home together, but the 14-year-old went to her friend's house and left the 5-year-old on her own. My dad and his wife were at work. His wife got a text from her friend's parents saying the 14-year-old made it safely. She and dad were texting all freaked, and he called me and told me to go and stay with the 5-year-old until someone came home, but I refused, and he tried to get my mom to make me do it, but she refused. His wife tried to make the 14-year-old go back too, but she didn't, and the 5-year-old was on her own for hours before his wife just left work. Then when my dad got home, he sent so many texts and called a bunch of times, and I didn't answer. But he was like, "How could you do that? She needed you. She's only a kid and stuff." The thing is, I don't care. That's not a problem for me to fix. I'm not their babysitter and I'm not a willing part of their family, if you could even call them that. Comment 1. You're right, it's not your problem. One of those parents should have immediately returned home. Additionally, the 14-year-old is a known issue. So your dad and stepmom knew that this was a likely scenario. Dad is lucky you didn't call CPS. NTA. Comment 2. NTA. But I would have called the police for an abandoned child, since neither of them were leaving work to go home. CPS is then involved and your mom has a better chance to file an emergency custody change. Short story 2. Telling my friend's girlfriend she's not hot enough to act the way she does? My best friend, 28M, has been dating this girl Kelsey, 26F, for about 4 months. I, 29M, don't know her that well, but every time we hang out, she gives off super arrogant vibes. Like she'll openly criticize people's outfits, say things like "Ugh, this place is so basic," or talk about how she only dates guys with money and good taste. She also constantly interrupts, makes everything about her, and looks down on people who work 9-5s, like most of us. Anyway, we were all at a barbecue last weekend and she was acting especially smug, so after a couple drinks, I said something like, "You talk like you're a 10, but you're acting like a solid 6 with an attitude problem." It got dead quiet. She looked shocked. My friend pulled me aside and said I was way out of line and ruined the night. Later, he texted that Kelsey cried on the way home and that I was jealous and insecure. I do regret saying it that harshly, but I also feel like no one ever checks her behavior and someone needed to say it. I didn't mean to insult her looks so much as call out the attitude. Still, maybe I crossed a line? Comment 1. YTA. You're basically saying that a woman's worth as a person and the value of her opinions is based on how hot she is. According to you, if she'd been a 10, it would have been fine for her to make those comments, which means they couldn't have been so inherently awful, or they'd be awful regardless of how hot you think she is. Comment 2. ESH. Her behavior would be unacceptable no matter how she looked. You made an ass of yourself by making it about her looks when the issue is her values and the way she treats people. Story 3. Running away when he grabbed the umbrella? I, 37F, went on a trip to a foreign country with my husband Joe, 33M. This happened in December. We had been married about a year at that point. The trip was during the rainy season. I absolutely hate when it rains on me, the way most people hate nails on a chalkboard. I normally quietly put up with it. But spending a week outside in a rainy season, it required a little more planning. But the solution seemed simple: umbrella. But I knew from experience that if Joe didn't have his own, he would grab it, hold it over his head, leaving me almost no protection. So, I said, emphatically, I'll bring an umbrella, but you must have your own. I don't want to share because it doesn't work. He didn't bring his own, and didn't want to buy one when we saw one at a market. Near the end of the vacation, we were outside and it started to rain suddenly. I whipped out my umbrella, Joe immediately grabbed it, lifted it high, so it wasn't doing anything for me. Without thinking, I ran over to an open-air restaurant 30 feet away to get out of the rain. Joe started yelling at me across the distance saying I always do this. He doesn't like explaining himself, so I'm not sure what always do this means. We rarely go anywhere, so it's not like I have a habit of running off, nowhere to run to. I was not upset with him in that moment. I understood he grabbed it without thinking. My only thought was to get out of the rain. Everyone in the restaurant stopped talking and looked at us. It was embarrassing, and rude, I thought. I meant he was rude for disturbing them, not that they were rude. Later that night in the hotel we got into a big argument. I said I didn't like him yelling at me in front of everyone. These talks are never constructive. He kept insisting that I was mad at him about the umbrella. I was slightly annoyed after the fact is all, but he didn't believe me. If he hadn't yelled at me, everything should have been fine. The rain died down and we could have resumed our walk no problem. But he kept pressing me and I finally asked why didn't he get his own umbrella if he was going to be upset when I took cover after he basically took mine? He said, and I quote, "This is why all my friends think I'm pussy-whipped," which cut me to the core and I'm second-guessing everything now. Am I the asshole for how I acted when he grabbed the umbrella? Maybe I shouldn't have gone to cover without saying something first, or maybe I should have asked him to try to adjust the umbrella. He doesn't make a habit of yelling at me and doesn't often mad at me, but does get mad when I'm upset with him. For my part, he does have a habit of telling me what I'm upset about, when it isn't true, and then being mad at me for what he says I'm upset about. It's like he wants me to be mad at him for something unreasonable. But for his part, I know I can be too sensitive. Comment 1, NTA, but you need the frilliest, pinkest, fairy and unicorn, little girly umbrella you can find. See if he gets his own then. I also despise being rained on, my husband runs to get me an umbrella. Comment 2, there's an easy solution. Get a bright pink umbrella with large, showy flowers on it. Macho man would die before grabbing that one. Story 4, putting a bowl of water on my husband's lounge chair. My husband, 38M, never remembers to put the toilet seat down. His reasoning is that I should look before sitting and that everybody does. I've expressed to him that, because I've lived alone for a long time, it's my instinct to just sit. And yes, I do look, but my brain sees a white toilet and fills in the seat, and then I splash into water in the middle of the night. I was just trying to express this, but he didn't see why it wasn't Amy's problem for not looking. To test the theory, I filled a wide brown serving bowl with water and placed it on the brown lounge chair that he normally sits in. He went to watch football and immediately sat in the water. Obviously, it ruined the moment for him. He says I could have explained it better and didn't need to torture him. That I ruined football because he had to change his pants. In my opinion, this was the only way to get him to understand that just look at the seat isn't necessarily as common as it sounds in a familiar area. But, I do feel bad, so I want outside opinions. Comment 1, everyone should leave the seat and lid down so there isn't toilet water spraying all over your bathroom every time you flush. Comment 2, both of you should be lowering the lid before flushing, otherwise you're flinging droplets of urine and stools around your entire bathroom every time you flush. It's more hygienic and it solves the silly argument of seat up or down, because lid should be down all the time unless in use. Extra, refusing to help my boyfriend's dying mother while planning a trip to Europe. I, 25F, live with my boyfriend Liam, 24M. About a month ago, His mom Tanya began claiming she's dying of cancer, but no diagnosis has been confirmed. Every hospital visit ends with her being sent home. A nurse even told Liam she might be faking. It started when she stayed one night at our one-bedroom apartment. That turned into a week of chaos. She refused AC and fans, said they hurt her skin, but blow-dried her hair daily. The apartment smelled awful, everything had to be dark and silent, and she constantly demanded help. She even stormed into our bedroom at 3 a.m. asking Liam for massages. We sleep naked, so that was awkward. She criticized our Buddhist souvenirs, insisted we hang a cross, I did, and complained non-stop. She suggested we move in with her, an hour from our job/school. I'm a full-time student with 2 jobs and a 4.0 GPA, and I was falling behind. Liam, who works full-time, switched to remote work. His boss hated this, to care for Tanya. Her health updates were always shifting: MRI, cancelled surgery, then chemo postponed due to infection, then E. coli. Always a new reason. No clear diagnosis or paperwork. When her husband David, who funds her lifestyle, was away, she made us go to her house to get her jewelry because she thinks he'll steal it when she dies. He's an alcoholic, according to her. We were supposed to take her to the ER right after, but we ended up staying 16 hours doing chores. I folded 420 clothing items, cleaned the whole house, and felt like her unpaid maid. Not a single please or thank you. She was stalling to go to the ER, and when we finally got there at 5 a.m., she said she'd check herself in, and sent us home. 3 hours later, she called again, sobbing for help. She had been rejected by the ER. I suspect she faked it. Liam and I have both been skipping meals, losing sleep, and falling behind at work to help her. He once said he's waiting for her to pass away so we can move to Europe. He's been forced to manage her divorce, lawyer meetings, and funeral prep. Meanwhile, David, who's paying the hospital bills and had been kept in the dark about all this, sent Liam aggressive texts like "I call bullshit and don't show up at my house no more," then later apologized. Tanya called again begging for help. But this time, she wanted me, because David is jealous of Liam. I had clearly told Liam I needed that weekend to study for final exams. And going to that house alone seemed sketchy. Now, I'm planning a 2 to 3 week Europe trip to see my mom, whom I haven't seen in over a year. Liam says he supports it but called it a little selfish. He's asked, if I were dying, would you quit your job to be with me? And if it were your mom, would you help her? I felt pressured to say yes. But truth is, my family wouldn't lie to me or use me like this. I love Liam and want to be there for him. But I don't trust his mom, and this is starting to affect our relationship.